But we wanted to start with that tragedy in Waukesha, Wisconsin. We mentioned it yesterday at the top of the show, but we were just getting details. Now we know so far the death toll is 5, with 48 at least injured when an SUV, a maroon SUV, drove seemingly intentionally through a crowd of people who had gathered for a holiday parade. Just an absolutely horrific tragedy. Here was what the police chief in that town had to say.
Provide an update. At 4:39 p.m. on Sunday, November 21st, of 2021, a lone subject intentionally drove his maroon SUV through barricades into a crowd of people that was celebrating the Waukesha Christmas parade, which resulted in killing 5 individuals and injuring 48 additional individuals. I just received information that 2 of the 48 are children and they're in critical condition. We have information that the suspect prior to the incident was involved in a domestic disturbance, which was just minutes prior, and the suspect left that scene just prior to our arrival to that domestic disturbance. When the suspect was driving through into the crowd, one officer did discharge his firearm and fired shots at the suspect to stop the threat, but due to the amount of people, had to stop and fire did not fire any other additional shots. The officer is on administrative leave as part of the department protocol. No one was injured as a result of the officer firing discharging his firearm. The subject was taken into custody a short distance from the scene, and we are confident he acted alone. There is no evidence that this is a terrorist incident. Due to the wind yesterday.
So listen, you always want to be a little careful about these early details, but this coming directly from law enforcement, it sounds like this man, who I'm going to get into in a moment, has a long and violent record within the criminal justice system, was fleeing the scene of another crime, gets to this parade and just barrels through the crowd. We're talking about, I mean, you guys have been to parades, you know, it's kids marching in the marching band and doing dance routines. There's a group of dancing grannies that every year would perform at this parade and all around Wisconsin that took some of the heaviest casualties here. Absolutely horrific scenes. We wanted to show you a little bit of what that looks like. I mean, listen, guys, if you're sensitive, this is violent. It's hard to watch, so just a little bit of a warning here, but we wanted to show you, Eric, if you can go ahead and put that up, a little bit of what this scene was. Some of the earliest videos, you see the SUV barreling by, narrowly missing a small child. Here you see them mowing through what looks to be a marching band. Of course, screams, people totally panicked. There were scenes of, you know, dancers, pom-poms all around, injured children. And the details have come out, this individual is well known to law enforcement, had many interactions previously with the criminal justice system, a very long rap sheet. Let's go ahead and throw the next tear sheet up on the screen. Darrell Brooks is the suspect in the Waukesha Christmas parade incident. The Milwaukee man has been charged with crimes 10 times since 1999. And by the way, guys, these weren't like, you know, low-level nonviolent drug offenses. We're talking about repeated violent offenses, including most recently, he was charged with attempting to run over the mother of his child. So another incident involving his vehicle. And so a lot of people were saying, well, what the hell? Why was this guy—
Why was this person released?
Why was this guy out on the streets to start with? And some of the focus has been around his bail in that last incident where he allegedly tried to run over the mother of his child, was set at only $1,000. We can put this statement up on the screen next. So the Milwaukee County District Attorney is saying, hey, he shouldn't have been released on such a low cash bond earlier this month. They're conducting an internal review. In a sense, though, Saagar, I think the focus on the dollar amount of the bond is misplaced. This dude shouldn't have been out, period. We're not talking about, oh, well, if he was wealthier and he'd committed these crimes and he'd set it at $10,000 and he'd gotten out, well, that would be fine. No, no, no. The way this is supposed to work is when you are charged with, especially a violent offense, there is a risk assessment to determine whether you're going to be released on your own recognizance, whether you're going to be have the opportunity to post bail, that's kind of the middle ground, or whether you're going to be held regardless of how much money you're able to pony up in that situation. And one thing that I just wanted to point out here that people misunderstand about bail. Bail is not about keeping violent offenders in prison. Bail is about compelling people to show up for their court appearances.
Exactly.
So again, I think the focus here on the dollar amount of the bail is a little misplaced. This risk assessment, given his prior history, given the fact that he had done something so horrific and violent, allegedly, as trying to run over the mother of his child, that he would be released at any dollar amount, to me, is completely insane.
I completely agree with you. And actually, you know, it's not just this domestic disturbance, but there was also another one right after and leading to the plowing through this crowd. You know, he was involved in what police are describing as some sort of incident. They don't know if a knife was involved or not. That's what some of the preliminary reports said. Also, I mean, you know, one of the things that he's admitted to on camera was, you know, getting involved sexually with a young woman of the age of 16 years old. And he has 2 open court felony cases in Milwaukee County. And in July of 2020 was charged with 3 felonies after being accused of firing a gun during an argument with his relative. And as you said, earlier this month, purposefully ran over with his vehicle the woman who he apparently had a child with while she was walking through a gas station after he followed her there after a fight, according to that criminal complaint. And he was charged on November 5. So we're talking like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's
and then, like you said, bail, the point is not to keep people in prison, it's to compel people to go ahead and show up. And what you see here is a, you know, tremendous misfire, obviously. A lot of scrutiny right now on that district attorney's office and on the district attorney's office on how exactly the bail recommendation made, all of that. And also really in terms of why it was even considered okay to release them in the first place.
Right.
So it's really interesting, but you know, the main thing is you can't forget victims in these cases. It just kills me. I mean, let's put this up on the screen. You know, 3 of these dancing grannies were killed, and at least 18 children were injured at the Waukesha Christmas parade. And yes, I'm sorry I said the town's name wrong yesterday. I heard from many of the residents of the town. And what they say there at the children's hospital said that the 18 children had been brought to the hospital after the parade between the ages of 3 and 16. 10 of them are apparently in the ICU, and 6 are in critical condition. So unfortunately, the death toll could even be higher. Currently, the number of people who have died there are all above the age of like 65 years old. So they're the seniors that were, you know, plowed into. I said it yesterday. I mean, one of the most evil things you can do is just plow your car into a Christmas parade and, you know, drive past dancing girls and then hit a bunch of grandmas and you know, grandparents. And then now there's children who are in the hospital and, you know, right before the holiday season. It was just the worst thing that could possibly happen. But tremendous screw up, obviously, within the district attorney's office. And I do think it is going to cause some questions around how exactly that election happened, who was financing it. I've been seeing a lot of this reaction around George Soros. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's like an actually involved in electing district attorneys, people like Chesa Boudin and others. And there's a lot of scrutiny right now on that type of criminal justice policy. So that could be a possible tie-in to some of this. But as you said, it really does belie the point, because even under the, as I understand it, the most liberal criminal justice policy, people who have 10 violent crimes are not supposed to be released.
You shouldn't be released
on bail, period.
And that's why I say there's all this question, oh, the bail was set too low. No, he shouldn't have been released, period. And just, you know, so people understand, the case against cash bail is effectively, I mean, the obvious thing is it creates a 2-tier system of justice. So no matter what violent crime or what kind of crime you commit, if you're a wealthy person, you can post bail. Well, that doesn't make sense that you should be treated differently than people who are poor. That's totally different than a risk assessment that should be done. If you are a repeat violent offender, I don't care how much money you have, you should not be released and have the ability to commit horrific crimes like this. So I think that really is where the conversation needs to be. The fixation on the amount of the bail, to me, is sort of misunderstands what the real problem was. And as you said, look, the most important thing here is the families who have lost loved ones, who are worried about if their kids are going to be okay, or what kinds of injuries they're going to sustain that are going to be with them. The trauma of this community, I can hardly imagine. I mean, there you are, holiday, kids are probably off of school for Thanksgiving, gearing up for the Christmas season, the holiday season, and this turns into just absolute terror. These kids are going to live with these traumatic memories their entire life. The 5 victims, as you said, all of them over the age of 50. Virginia Sorensen, 79, Leanna Owen, 71, Tamara Duran, 52, Jane Kulich, 52, Wilhelm Hospel, 81, 2 of them members of that Dancing Grannies group, and our hearts break for the victims and their families of this absolute tragedy.
Yeah, that's right. We want to make sure you guys are updated. It's the biggest story in the country.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.